several minority groups, including blacks and Latinos, did, as Donald Trump predicted, move over to his column.
It is significant, but not really surprising. Donald Trump, I believe, and in speaking to a number of Republicans and Democrats, has a unique appeal to Latino voters. Most Latino voters are working class folks. And despite his crude sense of humor, despite the jokes that he makes, despite the exaggerations about his wealth and his exploits, for folks that are from where I'm from and folks that I've grown up around, that resonates.
Well, Democratic operatives are desperately trying to figure out why Latino voters, in particular, swung dramatically toward Donald Trump, despite historically voting for Democrats. And they're doing this after the election took place, even though polls were indicating for over a year that this trend was happening, that the Democrats were bleeding support among Latino voters. So look, we'll get back to the very obvious underlying reasons in just a second. But first, I think it's worth looking at these record-breaking numbers, okay? What the results of the election was, what the results were, I should say, in regard to the Latino vote. So take a look at this graphic. So it shows that the majority, around 53% of Latino voters, still did vote for the Democratic candidate Kamala Harris in this election. But that is significantly lower than the 65% that voted for Joe Biden in 2020. So just bleeding support. Meanwhile, Trump did grow support from 32% to 45%, okay? Now, Latino men in particular made a huge swing between 2020 and 2024. So let's take a look at that. In 2020, for instance, Joe Biden won among Latino men by 23 percentage points, 59% to Trump's 36%. Fast forward to 2024, and Trump won the Latino men by about 10 points, 54% to Kamala Harris's 44%. He also won among Latino voters overall in the state of Texas. Trump captured 55% of Latino voters in the state, according to exit polls. He also won 14 out of the 18 counties within 20 miles of the border, a number that doubled his 2020 performance in the Latino majority region. So why the huge swing? What's going on? Well, some people like Sunny Hostin and radio host Victor Martinez think that it has to do with identity. Let's take a look.
Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border.
It's
the
misogyny.
border crisis is on their doorstep. And they were begging people to care about it for years. We need to take some lessons.
That's what that was.
And I will dare to say that is the Latino man who wouldn't want a woman president. I mean, you and I had this discussion before, and I have audios from Latino men who were calling my show telling me that they wouldn't vote for her just because she was a woman. And that is unfortunately, but that's part of the Latino culture, right? Where the Latino, the man is the one, the provider, and we're the boss. And we still unfortunately have a lot of Latinos with that mentality where the woman belongs in the kitchen. That is a reality of the Latino male chauvinist culture. And I think that's exactly what happened.
Martinez has no idea what he's talking about. Some inconvenient facts for him. For instance, the fact that in 2016, Hillary Clinton won Latino men by a 31-point margin.
Game over already, but wait till you see more.
And if you think it's mainly because of racism, that also doesn't quite jive with the fact that Latinos voted for Barack Obama over Mitt Romney, 71% to Romney's 27%. What are we doing, Democrats? Like, what do you? They're gone, Cenk. They're gone. Like unable, unwilling to ever do even a little bit of self-reflection.
No, but I hear what they're saying. The Latino, Mexican culture in particular, so machismo. They never vote for a woman. That's why Mexico currently has a woman president.
Weird.
Oops.
Weird.
Oops.
Yeah.
Okay. But go ahead, blame your own voters, you morons. So now you're going to blame not the person who ran the campaign. By the way, why don't they do that? because Sonny Hostin and almost everybody on TV is great personal friends with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and all those guys. So it can't possibly be beloved Kamala Harris's fault. That's why yesterday we showed you clips of these same people saying that Kamala Harris ran a flawless campaign.
Flawless. Queen Latifah.
Queen Latifah was on her side. And normally Queen Latifah doesn't endorse people.
Normally.
Nevertheless, they ran this perfect campaign. I mean, she happened to lose. But other than that, she got Queen Latifah. So now these morons are saying, oh, I got a great idea for the next election. Why don't we punch our own voters in the face and smear them so they'll hate us even more, okay? Yeah. Because that'll probably help us in the next election.
I think that might be a better strategy than Kamala Harris's brilliant strategy of running with a neocon like Liz Cheney. Let's see how it works out. It's just, yeah, look, I get it. I get that it's difficult to do self-reflection. I get that it's difficult to own up to mistakes, misjudgments. I totally get that. With that said, no one is entitled to a damn thing, okay? No Democratic candidate is entitled to a damn thing. Even if the other guy is Satan himself, okay? The Democrat has to earn votes. And the fact that they feel so entitled, I mean, they feel so entitled that after losing the election, they're just lashing out at the electorate. That's all they've been doing. That is literally all I've seen from the Democratic Party. It's crazy.
By the way, look, I've said it on this show. I'm about to go and say it on other shows. Here's who I blame for the loss: Kamala Harris. Isn't that weird that almost no one on TV is saying that? Like literally saying the words out loud, Kamala Harris is at fault. You know why? Everyone on TV is craving access to the powerful, or is personal friends with her, or are such elites, they think the idea of criticizing the actual candidate is unthinkable, unthinkable. She's so important. She's a celebrity, she's famous, she's powerful. You can't just, that sounds outrageous to blame Kamala Harris. That's offensive. But blaming all Latino men, not offensive. Interesting.
Now,
and remember, by the way, the Republicans are the racists.
I know, it's, now others, including political science professor Geronimo Cortina, who has a fun name, I love it, do have a different, and in my opinion, obvious theory. He says that Latinos are saying, I don't care what Trump says, I want to be able to pay the bills.
Ding, 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 we finally have a winner.
I want to be able to send my kid to college, I want to pay the mortgage to afford a new car.
Oh, it turns out they're human. That are just like everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. And CNN contributor Boris Sanchez, who we heard from earlier, he says the Democrats have failed to effectively message to Latino voters. Let's hear more from his argument here.
Despite the exaggerations about his wealth and his exploits, for folks that from where I'm from and folks that I've grown up around, that resonates more so than
the strong man.
Not just the strong man, but a figure that has succeeded in capitalism, that has wealth that he flaunts, versus the conversation that they hear often from Democrats about Latinx or Latinx. I don't know how to say it. No one where I'm from knows how to say that word. They don't use it. And so in conversations that I've been having with Republican operatives today, they've pointed out that a lot of it just has to do with conversation, the way that conversations are held. And actually, I spoke with one Democrat moments ago, a Latino operative who said, we need to rethink the way that we talk to folks, specifically Latinos. And he asked point blank, are we actually talking to these voters?
I don't know, personally, I'm surprised that the Latino community in America didn't enjoy the fact that white activists were trying to, single-handedly change their entire language. Weird.
Look, if I go to Washington and I talk to Democrats who are Latino, sometimes they'll use Latinx. And good people sometimes use Latinx because they were told that it was the less offensive thing to say, right? And so that gets put out there, I get it. You go talk to real Latinos, I lived in Miami, I lived in LA, and I'm just a person in the world. So of course in America, I know tons and tons of Latinos. I've never heard one person say Latinx in that community, right? Yeah. It's just absurd, it's absurd. So look guys, it's not like the Republicans didn't say their own racist things against Latinos. Are you kidding me? Island of garbage, et cetera, a million things that Donald Trump said after the hurricane. But when you say Donald Trump is a racist against Latinos, and then after he wins Latino men, and then you turn around after the election and you say it's Latino men's fault because they're sexist and have the wrong culture. Okay, well, at a bare minimum, it turns out you're both racist. So what happened to like disadvantaged communities and vulnerable communities and taking care of those communities? No, the minute you lose an election, you blame them. So,
yeah,
by the way, black men are next. So hear me now, quote me later. They started that a little bit on election night, and then they reeled it back in because they were a little worried, but they're not going to be able to help themselves. Oh, a lot of young black men went to Trump too. Now let's blame. Don't just blame Latino men. Blame black men too.
Yeah, scold them more because it did work out real well in this election cycle. Look, there is a silver lining to all of this, okay? The Democratic Party, because they wanted the donor money, because they wanted to be friendly with the corporate interests, started running not on economic populism, not on improving the lives and the material conditions of their voters. They left that behind and instead leaned in hard on identity politics. And guess what? That's not paying the dividends that it used to anymore. And so either they're going to wisen up to that reality or they're gonna keep losing. But I do think that the era of shallow identitarianism is coming to an end. And I think that's a win for all of us.
Yeah, look, besides which, remember, there's two wings in the Democratic Party. There's the corporate establishment wing that's 98% of the party, and then there's Bernie Sanders. And so it doesn't have to be Bernie himself, but whoever gets the mantle of the Bernie's economic populism and stops talking about race 24/7 as if we're not all human beings, and this kind of weird racism that the Democrats have, that they think people will only vote based on their identity and not the content of their character and what they think, right? So those establishment Democrats are never going to win. They're going to lose in all these general elections. They've proven that they can't even beat Donald Trump, right? There's just no way they could possibly win. So the only hope we have is the Bernie Sanders wing winning a primary. And the good news is that wing is not racist. And that wing doesn't think in terms of race. It thinks in terms of class and other human beings, and how do we look out for all of us. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.